All right, here we go. Thanks, Megan. Welcome everybody to our team call. Lisa Winters here, Emerald Ambassador, been with Plexus for 10 years. And we are just excited to be together tonight. And I've got a couple of hosts with me that are going to be sharing as well. And our goal for tonight is for you to feel encouraged wherever you are with your Plexus business. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a backstory for me. Some of you know me, some of you know my story, others do not. So I'm just going to share a little bit with you. Like I said, I've been sharing Plexus for 10 years. This July. That's a long time, you guys. Like that's a decade. Whoever thought? It's amazing. So, but I've seen many ups and downs in the last 10 years. I've seen times where my business has been in massive momentum, and then I've seen times when it's been pretty stalled out. And the good news is that everything is subject to change. And so I want to share with you a pivot that I experienced while on the cruise. Actually, I earned Leaders Retreat. Leading up to Leaders Retreat, though, I just want to give you a little bit of a backstory. My mom had dementia and had been sick for a good couple years in a full-scale facility, and ended up passing away in September of 24, just a few months ago. And so it was difficult. Any of you that have lost a loved one, you know that it's very difficult. You go through a grieving process. But leading up to that point, too, I had had a job change, taken on more responsibility. My husband is a pastor. We have a large church with 3 campuses, and I'm over all of the music. And so it was a lot to take on. And so Plexus had become a little bit on the back burner because life happened. But when that happens, when you take your foot off the gas and you stop doing those things that you need to do, that you're not going to stay in momentum. You're not going to necessarily be growing. Somehow, praise the Lord, I was able to make it to Leaders Retreat. The team was still working, but I remember being very tired. I went on the ship on that cruise, having been physically sick. I had had 2 viruses, 7 weeks back to back. It's just been a very difficult last 6 to 8 months for me personally. And so being on that cruise, I remember where I was standing, what I was doing. Megan and Angie and we were all together. I think we were in the Bahamas at this time. We were walking and doing touristy things. And Megan, we were crossing the road and she looked at me and she just happened to say one thing to me. And so don't ever underestimate speaking into someone else's life and saying something that you may think is seemingly insignificant, but it is not to them. And so she looked at me and she said, "Hey, I think you're going to sweep the contest for convention." And I want you guys to know that I've never swept the contest. I have for convention and leaders retreats before, I have gotten like the prize second to the top. Like I went to the gala and earned some of the things, but never the tippy top. Never was able to say that I swept it. And so when she said this to me, we were crossing the road and I said, "Are you sure?" So literally my first thought, you can tell my thinking was not correct. I was thinking, surely not. You've got to be mistaken. And so she checked and she said, "No, she had run the report. She's like, "No, you're with those people that are gonna, you're ready to sweep it. You're on track rather." So I kept mulling that around and went back to our cabin after we were done. And I got into my back office and I made a decision right then and there. I looked and I said, "I can do this. Megan believes I can do it." And so what I want to talk to you about is how I was in not a great place with my business. I had gone through a lot physically, emotionally, just life, right? But one word of encouragement helped me to pivot. And so I had a decision to make. And so I have a phrase that I want you to write down. There's a couple things I want you to write down. And this is the first thing. And that is a phrase that a mentor of my husband years ago said this. And it was this. And maybe you've heard this. It's very simple. When in a funk, engage. How many of you know what a funk is? When you're in a funk, it means that you are just in that space where you're not doing great. When you're in a funk, you're actually disengaged. It makes you want to not do the things. It almost, for me, it made me like paralyzed. I was not able to move forward in my business. So when in a funk, engage. That means you do the opposite of that funk, that whatever is frustrating for you, whatever is holding you back, you're going to do the very opposite of what it's making you want to do. It's kind of like when fear is holding you back. you do the opposite of what that fear is telling you to do. If you're afraid to reach out, reach out. If you're afraid to make that live, make that live. But these are all things that you have to pre-decide. So first thing, when in a funk, engage. Number two, you need to think about, what do you want to change in your business? And so at that time when Megan said that, I knew, yes, I want to sweep the contest, but what do I want to have change in my business at that time? And Nicole is on here. She was a new level one. She was literally getting ready to go fast start silver and fast start senior silver. And I was on the cruise. We were texting back and forth. So I was engaged in that regard, but I didn't have the belief for myself. I had already ranked, yes, I'd ranked Emerald. I'd been on leaders retreats. But it was like this one thing that felt like, I don't think I can do it. But then when I was faced with Megan saying, someone believing in me, oh, you can do this. I was in a funk. Okay. I was on the cruise, but I was still in that funk. I was like, I couldn't seem to believe that I could, um, move forward and succeed and excel. And so when in a funk, engage. Number two, you have to decide what is that you want to change. And number three, you have to make a decision. What are you willing to do to see that change? And so I had to make the decision. I remember Megan saying, okay, come, let's chat. So I went into her cabin in her room and we chatted. Angie was there. And I remember feeling, I could tell I had faith building in my heart. And so and so my decision was, I'm going to get out of this funk. I'm going to engage. Number two, what do I want to see change? I want to sweep the contest, and I want to continue to grow, and I want to grow more gold legs. Well, guess what? Nicole went fast start gold in March, and she's on track to be fast start senior gold. So good things are happening, right? But I'm like, okay, I can I sweep the contest? So I had to decide, what am I willing to do? And so that for me was showing up differently. So doing the things that I once did 10 years ago when I couldn't stop thinking about plexus. So we're all in different places here, right? Maybe some of you just started sharing. Maybe you haven't decided to share yet, or maybe you've been sharing for 8 years or 10 years. But I had to make that decision. I'm going to do it differently. And so I was thinking today, when I first met Megan, I knew her mom first, and Mary is a dear friend of mine, her mom. And so one of the ways that we connected was through violin. My daughter played violin, and that's how we connected. And so I remember talking with Mary and saying, oh, Victoria, she practices 4 hours a day. And I remember Mary saying, well, it's not a practice that makes perfect. It's perfect practice that makes perfect. And I remember thinking, I hadn't heard that. And I thought, that sounds strange. It's the same way with plexus. So hear me out. It's not sitting down, and yeah, are there times that we're going for a rank, we're gonna have to sit in the chair for 8-10 hours. I've done it. You guys that have done, you've done it. But on a daily consistent basis, it's showing up perfectly. What does that look like for you? So you've said, I'm going to get out of the funk. What do I want? And what am I willing to do to get what I want? And that is showing up. This could be one of the ways. And for me, it was showing up perfectly. And that perfectly was not having all the answers. It wasn't sending a perfect message, but showing up perfectly for me was pre-deciding, when I show up, number one, I'm going to show up. And then number two, show up again, because I had already done this years before and off and on, but I'm like, no, I'm changing. So I had to pre-decide. And then I prayed, I pre-decided, and then I showed up passionately the way I did once before. I'm going to give you an example. There was a lady a new level one that I had just signed up. And today I messaged her, like we all do, to check on our people. But then when you get that response, it's like, I haven't taken my products, or I've taken them, I don't see any, we've all heard it, right? They've got the packages, or they're taking it with cookies, or they're not seeing results. I don't see anything. Okay, this one she had been sick, and I'm not consistent, and I can't ever remember. And so I literally voice message back with wanting to add value, not fearful of the outcome, because I can't control the outcome. Because I've been fearful of the outcome for so long. I've been fearful for what they were going to respond. I literally, again, so I'm pre-deciding, I'm praying, and I'm pre-deciding how I'm going to show up with my attitude and my mindset that this is going to happen, this can happen. And I'm not talking mind weirdness. I'm just saying I'm pre-deciding, because we have to come with a good mindset. And so I literally responded with her with a voice clip and I said, hey, I know you can do this. I mean, I'm literally passionately talking to her like I would talk to anyone else. And without fear that she's going to reject what I'm saying. If she does, she does. Well, guess what? She responded, yep, you're right. Thank you so much. And it seems so small for me to say that I've been doing this for almost a decade. But literally, small pivot, little pivots in your mindset, in your actions, and in your words will literally change the trajectory of your business. Let me tell you, I swept the contest by March 31st. It was actually before that. And I mean, the credits still keep climbing because we're gaining traction and getting into momentum. I am so thankful that when Megan, first of all, that Megan said that to me, speaking life into a situation, but that I was able, by the grace of God, to identify, I'm going to get out of, I'm going to engage. I'm in a funk. I'm going to engage. I'm going to ask, what do I want to see? And what am I willing to do? And then those three things, when you show up, pre-decide, first pray, pre-decide how you're going to show up and do it passionately. And I promise you, when you do this, you will see changes in your business every single time. All right. I am going to pass it on. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to pass it on to Cassie Howard.
Hey, hey. Oh man, I could relate to so much of that. And I'm going to kind of give you the same things, but hopefully you guys have pen and paper because the best calls that I come to is when I actually can write down things that I feel like are prompting that are holding me back or that I need to learn from as I'm listening. And so please have pen and paper. Yes, Megan, love it. I know for me, I've been in 9 years, and when she talked about a funk, that's all I ever felt like for so long. And I know some of you are there because I know a lot of you personally, and you feel like I've been doing all the things, I'm showing up. I can't find teammates that really want it, or my business builders all leave. I know I had the exact same thing happen to me. I had business builders that said that they would never leave me, and they did. And then I have some come back. And the beautiful part is that I had to recognize I was the one that was never going to give up. And so when I tell you the shifts that I made in my business was that, and then it also was I truly stopped, I just stopped and I surrendered my business. And what that meant was I stopped worrying about whether I was going to get Hawaii or whatever anymore. I stopped worrying about is my points going to go down another 100 points this month? You know, what's going to happen now? Am I going to have another person leave because maybe I say the wrong things, or I worry what they're going to think of me, or am I leading the right way for them? All these things that the enemy is just trying to stop me from moving forward, right? And so I just laid them down at God's feet. No joke. That is what true surrendered looked like. I was showing up for me. Nobody else. I was showing up for me and knowing the gifts that God has given me. So I want you to sit down. I want you to think about, I'm going to give you actions of what kind of I did. Write down, what do you uniquely have that God has given you? You are not like Megan. You are not like me. You're not like Justina or Lisa or Katie or Brooke or Christy or Sister Cindy or anybody else on here. You are uniquely you. What do you do that you show up differently than anybody else on this? That can look like anything. That can be you can encourage somebody every for hours, right? And it's easy for you. Or you're great at organization, or you're great at doing reels, or whatever it is. I want you to spout it off on paper right now because you already know. And if you don't, you need to dig in deeper with somebody that knows you personally so that they can then pour into you. Because I had moments of that where I truly was blank. I did not know, had no idea what I was good at. And so I'll give you a little point about my business. I grew, went emerald in 2019, but I grew the whole wrong way. And I know some of you guys don't know me, but I grew in a way that I was just growing for points, growing for income, growing to like help our our family not be negative on our paychecks and things of that nature. Okay. But I was pouring and grabbing anybody I could off the streets. I mean, anybody, right? The problem was, is then I had a toxic culture that I was creating because I wasn't aligning with my beliefs that I felt like I wanted our team to be, right? And so I wanted to make sure that when I was growing this new surrendered business, was going to have a whole new clean slate. It was using my gifts, using the calling that I had, and using exactly what this culture that I knew that I wanted for our team to be. And I wasn't going to allow it to go back to what it was. It was going to be completely new. There was going to be boundaries set up and all of those things. And so hopefully you wrote down what you're uniquely made of, because You have them. And if you don't, text your bestie or whoever right now and ask, what am I good at? Okay. The next thing is I really did, and everybody says it, I poured into podcasts, I poured into trainings because I thought maybe there's one spark that I can figure out, right? I feel like I've read all the John Maxwell's and all the, I really like listening to Eric Thomas and Inky Johnson and oh gosh, there's so many things out there, right? I poured more into it and I said, okay, God, I know that, and if anybody knows Build a Boat by Colton Dixon, that song got me through like no other because I felt like I was building a boat. I was doing exactly what God called me to, but yet I wasn't seeing progress. Seeing progress is what I equaled success to look like of me getting Hawaii or me growing by 100 points or me having a new business builder or me having a new silver or whatever. I stopped having that aspect and that culture in my mind. I said, no, I'm going to grow my business in the way that God has called into because he's the one that's providing everything for me, not myself. I'm just the hands and the feet for him. And I know he's going to do the work and provide exactly what I need. And those micro commitments is exactly what I did need. Because if I could have seen myself even 7 years ago where I'm at today, I would have ran. I would have not been ready for what I have today. And so I poured into a lot of podcasts. I poured into a lot of trainings because I know I was building a boat in a different way for the Lord. I knew exactly what he was calling me into that I had to do differently. And when she talked about being in a funk, I remember at Ruby's it was a Ruby's thing that Megan and Carissa did joined. And a lot of people don't know this, but some of you guys do. I wasn't able to enjoy it because I was crying in the corner. I was like 40 orders away from hitting Hawaii, and it was like the last day of the month. And here we are at this beautiful retreat I should be enjoying, but yet I was bawling my eyes out because I knew that I wouldn't be getting Hawaii for our family. To me, I was putting Hawaii on a pedestal, thinking this is what I work for all year long. And this is something that, I love for our family to do. And I put that on a pedestal in ways that I probably shouldn't have. And it was a beautiful friend that said, Cassie, are you working for Hawaii or are you working for other people and blessing other people? And that hit me hard, like hard cry more than ever, because I realized I was putting a trip over people. And that's not my heart. That wasn't my intention. But I didn't realize that's what exactly I was doing. I was thinking Hawaii had to set me up to be emerald every single time. I have to hit these things, or then people won't see me that I'm an emerald, or I'm a struggling emerald, or all these things that we put ourselves in parameters, right? Okay, I had to let that go. And that was another surrender. The other thing is you need to find accountability partners. I don't care if they're sideline people. I don't care if they're people you just met on here and you both are going in the same direction, and they cannot be somebody that continues to pull you down either. Like, oh, I'm struggling too, or whatever. It is somebody that's going to be like, okay, you're having a sucky day. Okay, great. Me too. Here's how we fix it. Put this in your ear. Do this now, because we're all going to hit a point in our business that you're going to be where I was, where you're going to be building a boat, even though you don't see the rain, but you know the rain is coming. So accountability partners. The next thing, so I want you to write down, when I say accountability partners, I want you to write down the first person you're thinking right now that will kick you in the butt when you say, I want to quit. Okay? That will kick you in the butt when you think you want to quit. Because if you quit right now, you're quitting on the exact same thing that God has called you into. God has put this vision and this dream in your hands that you have the time for. And if you're going to allow yourself to give up, you've given the enemy control. So you have to find that one person that's going to be, oh, heck no, Cassie, don't you dare quit on what God is calling you. I don't care if it takes you 20 years. You are meant here for a purpose, okay? The next thing you're going to do, you have leaders on your team. I know you do. You might not think you do, but you do. The problem is you're not raising them up to the capacity that they should be, or you're not putting them in uncomfortable situations that they need to be called into. So like, let's say, sorry, I'm going to call my team out. Christy, let's say Christy, I'm going to be like, Christy, you're really great at, leading or sharing scripture or things of your heart. Can you say that on our team call on Tuesday? I'd love for you to take the first 15 minutes. I started allowing my team, not just me always showing up. I was like, wait, I need to be putting my leaders into leader positions, because if not, then I'm not leading a team then, because I want them to do and grow the same way that I'm growing. I want them to grow faster than me. And so I started recognizing, oh, wait, it's not all supposed to be me. I need to be allowing them to be in certain leadership positions too. So I want you to write down right now what team members you see on your team right now that you're like, I see this gift in them. I need to have them do this. Like right now, I'm going to give you like 50 seconds, 30 seconds. Write down the people on your team right now, whether they're a customer even. Have a customer come onto your Zoom and share their health testimony. That is powerful because then if they're like, oh, that was pretty easy, you might have a brand new business builder, right? And so having them come in and do things that you didn't think about is what's really going to start changing. That's the one thing I started doing was I started asking my teammates to start leading things. I even had requirements. I had, coaching requirements or things of that nature where if they wanted to be in this like program that I was doing, I was calling them out and I'm like, okay, Christy, it's your turn to lead. Okay, Julia, it's your turn to lead. Like I was putting them there and putting them in a hot seat, even though they didn't want to be, because I knew that the Lord was calling them into higher leadership positions that I was not placing them into. That was back on me. Okay. Hopefully you wrote that down. Keep writing because you need to write your people down. Write them down and write down what their unique ability is. I can tell you several of mine right now of my teammates that I'm going to keep asking them to start leading team calls or sharing a live on your, team chat or whatever. It can look however you want it to look. This is your team culture. What is this new fresh plate going to look like? Okay. I'm going to give you a few more seconds because I really, really want you to make sure that you are lifting up the people on your team. Again, they can be customers. If you are start putting customers into a position they would have never seen, but you saw it in them, you're casting vision for them because the Lord gave you the vision for them. Sometimes the Lord gives you visions for other people. You have to pour into them for that. Okay. Keep writing if you're doing. I'm going to do one more thing and then I'm going to pass it on. The next is power hours. I started having them do hours, whether they told me yes or no. Like, even if it's 15, 30 minutes, you guys, a power hour is this. Come on, get on, comment on 3 people. Let's go. Next thing. All right, let's reach out to 5 people and tell them happy birthday. Okay, next thing, do not overcomplicate things. I realized that sometimes we were numbing ourselves thinking it had to be pretty and perfect and in a bow and all this stuff. Like, this is what my notes look like for today, you guys. Does not have to be pretty and perfect. I did not have slideshows and PowerPoints, even though Jordan Ronberry and all these other people have these beautiful slides and Brittany Howard and all that. That's not me. That is not my unique ability. My unique ability is throwing little notes on piece of paper and coming to you like this. So you come and show up just like you are. And that's what I was training my team. I was training them to come up messy and could do messy action because messy action is better than no action at all. And I wanted them to show up and start doing things that I was doing. So that's another turning point is I started doing those things. I started doing an elite coaching. So we have elite coaching to where there is a small percentage of leaders. They're calling themselves leaders. They're showing up daily. They're doing the tasks that we're saying. And if they aren't, we're lovingly calling them out in a loving way because they were put into this position. They wanted to be coached in a higher level. And so I'm going to have the harder conversations with them than somebody that isn't in the elite coaching. And it's not because that I don't love the other person differently or not. It's just because they're wanting higher accountability, right? Okay. The last thing is if your culture, you want to make sure your culture in your team is exactly what you're calling it to be. Make sure that, like for mine, my mission was we are here to help create and help people feel their best so they can go and touch the world and touch God's kingdom and help them find their unique abilities and grow in their giftings and then pour in and cast vision so they can do the exact same thing. But I wanted boundaries to be set up in this new team that I had. That means if somebody's in there complaining or gossiping or whatever, it's like shut down. No, we are here to lift each other up. We're here to pour each other into each other. It is not a downward fest where before Cassie here back then was not ready to tell people no or tell like Julia, take a back seat, go delete that comment. We can't have that in our chat. Our chat is uplifting. Yes, we can share our struggles, but the struggle has to come with a positive aspect. Okay, we all struggle. What now can we move into a positive way that we can get out of that struggle? Because we all can stay here, but my team culture is choosing not to. We are moving in a better way, and we're going to make sure that our team chat does not have a culture of bringing everybody down. It is positive aspects and things of that nature. So in our chat, We are cheering each other on. We're shouting out wins, whether that's I did a scary message or way to go. I really loved your, post, April. Great post. Or we're continually shouting out things in that chat because we all know sometimes that, and this isn't just me doing it. It's like all of us. There is no like, oh, you're on Christy's team or you're on Julia's team. No, we're all one faith team. We are one team. And so just like this, we are one team. So if I see that Lisa's posted great and she's in my chat, I'm gonna be, girl, Lisa, that was awesome. Can I steal that? No, I'm just kidding. But like, you know what I mean? Like we are cheering each other on in that way. So I want you to really write down while I'm going to pass this on to Justina. What do you want your culture to look like? If you feel like you're in a funk and you're like, I'm not growing or I'm not growing the way that I want to, change it, because that's the one thing that I had to do. I had to be like, what do I want my new business to look like? And if you're just starting this business, same. Exactly. If you just started last week, awesome. What do you want your business to look like? What culture do you want it to have? What kind of rhythm do you want? And what do you want to be able to say and not feel like you have to be ashamed or say you're sorry about it? Like I make sure we pray on our team calls. I make sure I share scripture and all of that. And that's just my team culture. And I've realized when I bring those type of people in, those people bring those type of people in. It's not saying that we're not going to have other people that might be offended that I'm praying on a team call, but that is how I lead our calls. And they have a choice whether they enjoy it or not, but that is how I lead. And I am unashamed in this new season. And so you have to figure out the exact same, what is going to be your new you and what is going to be your new mission in your field of your new team now or later. So that is it. Hopefully that helped you because it was a huge shift for me and it has been a beautiful thing to see my team rise up. And now we have for years, I was getting and bawling my eyes out because we were 20 or 30 or even 10 orders away from Emerald. And I mean, it was like a hump all the time. And I always felt like we're just so close. Maybe I'm not a good enough leader. Maybe I'm not this. Maybe I'm not that. And you guys, I put myself in a pit because I was believing the lies I said to myself. And so until I could get myself out of the pit and realize, no, I'm exactly the way that God called me to, I just might need to figure out what that looks like and how I can do differently. When I put myself up, found some worship music and poured into myself differently, I wasn't going to keep being in the funk, like Lisa said. I checked in differently. That is why we are now have been hitting every Emerald every single month. And we've already hit Alaska, which is crazy, crazy. Like when I say this, I'm literally getting goosebumps. That does not happen. I did not think that I was going to have a team that happened. I didn't feel like I had the leadership capability to have a team that was going to be hitting Emerald every single month and just, it must be nice for other people is what I kept telling myself. It must be nice for Megan and all these other people to hit Emerald and just, oh, yep, we got Alaska the first 5 months or Mexico or whatever. I miss Mexico but both the time. So when I say I know your struggles, I know your struggles. And you just have to put yourself out of that and know what can you do differently to change, because there is something. There's going to be one small thing that's going to change and just change everything for you. So I cannot wait to pass it on to Justina and have you hear awesome tips and what she's doing, because this girl is phenomenal too. And so I love passing it on to my friend Justina.
Thank you, Cassie. You're so sweet. I learned so much from you and Lisa. I have so many notes from what you guys said. Lisa, I can totally relate to being stuck in a rut. I'm sure everyone here can. And Cassie, just having that huge mindset shift. I, like Cassie, have been doing Plexus for almost 9 years, and I honestly had no idea what I was getting myself into. My mother-in-law got me started. And I basically just wanted something to where I didn't have to go back to work full time. I wanted to be home with my girls. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna reach out to my mom and sisters. I've got a big family and like we'll see where this goes. And um I we had like I didn't really know what I was doing, honestly. I was flying by the seat of my pants for years, you guys. I would rank up maybe once a year, and then I set at senior gold for a couple years, and then I double ranked ruby, senior ruby, when I was in the hospital with my third child. And still though, I felt like I didn't really know how I got there. Like I said, I felt like I was flying by the seat of my pants, did not have any systems in place. I was posting, I was going to the team calls, I was listening to the podcasts and all the things, but like when it came to conversations, like as far as Messenger goes, I was freezing up. I didn't know how to really talk to them without vomiting, like either vomiting the business on them or the science behind how these products work. And I felt like I was scaring people away. And I'm like, how am I supposed to talk to them? And it got pretty discouraging when my upline quit and I just felt kind of lost, not really sure, what I'm supposed to do. And um I I had a turning point. We sold our home 2 years ago this summer and we now live in a camper. And we wanted to build our dream home. That's why we did this. And I was like, okay, if I want to save for our dream house and I don't want to have to like go back to work full time, I need to get my ass in gear and do this thing. And I need to figure out what I'm going to do to get there and not be flying by the seat of my pants anymore. And a huge thing for me was like, I was honestly my mom kept telling me to get over myself, honestly. And not like I was like vain or anything like that, but you guys, I was so scared to go live. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not talking on my stories. I couldn't stand like hearing my voice. I'm like, I can just post and that be it. And I just was overthinking it all. And I realized if I had to do something different. So I was going to have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so I just made that decision. I'm honestly not going to give a crap and I'm just going to post it. I'm going to go live. I'm not going to re listen to it. I'm just going to post it and post it raw. And, um, that was like a huge turning point, and I could tell that people were catching on. They could see like Justina is really showing Justina, and I think people really related to that, and I was then getting more people reaching out to me like, "Hey, what is this that you're doing?" And I talked to you guys about messaging, how I felt like I didn't know really how to carry on a good conversation, really how to close it. I knew how to talk to people, but how to be like, you know, let's get you started. And so a huge change was creating a three-step recruiting system and something that was duplicatable so that not only me but everyone else on my team could do that. And it just looked like send a simple cold message, friendly, short, curious, and it was basically something that I could copy and paste, maybe tweak a little bit, depending on the person. And if they basically bit at the message I was sending them, I was making sure to ask intentional questions like, what are your current goals? Oh, what have you tried for that issue? And then we created a Facebook page that was solely dedicated to just Plexus testimonies so that when I had someone that had PCOS or struggled with POTS or whatever, I could just search that in our Facebook page. And like we just constantly were just collecting these testimonies for months and months and adding them to this Facebook page. So anytime someone said, I struggle with this, this, and this, I'd find a testimony that they could relate to. I would send it to them in the message and I would just say, hey, can you relate to this? If they said yes, then I would say, what could you specifically relate to? Or give me like the top 3 things you could relate to. What stood out to you the most? Making sure I was showing empathy, which can be really hard to do over Messenger. So whether that be a lot of times I would send a voice memo like, oh my goodness, I had no idea that you were struggling to get out of bed every day. Um, and then just saying like, how would your life be different if you had the energy, if you weren't tired all the time, if you weren't constipated, And you guys, people will go deep. They'd be like, I'd actually feel like I was a decent mom, or I'd feel like a better mom, or I'd feel like a better wife. And just not rushing through the conversations like I felt like I was doing before, but really building that relationship with someone. And um then I would ask like if they would like to see what Cassie was taking for her PCOS, and I would have a typed up paragraph already. We called it the pricing paragraph that would say, this is the pack you need, this is the price, whether there was a discount, it's going to help with A, B, and C, this is what you're going to get. Or maybe give them two different options to try, like which one sounds better to you, or do you want to give it a try? And then I told you guys like another thing was handling objections. Like before, if someone was like, can't afford it, I'm like, okay, yeah, I understand. And then I would just freeze up and like I would never know what to say. And so we created a board that had all the common objections. If anyone wants the board access to the board, I'd be happy to send it to you. But just having the pre-written responses to those common ones, whether it's I need to talk to my husband, it's too expensive, not good at taking supplements, I can't remember it. Just having those responses ready, helped me just stay calm and confident and helpful. And it's obviously, once again, duplicatable to my team. So then the next thing was doing in-person events. And I was just making sure that every single time someone signed up, I was asking if they had a buddy that they would want to do this with. And I was just always making sure to like go the next step, because that's how we're going to grow. You don't want it to all be on your shoulders. Because I felt like then at that point I could recruit all day, but I had to make sure like those people were bringing in people as well. So anyways, just having the wording ready for offering to throw a party for them, having it at their house, having typed up exactly what they can send to their friends and family. And I would say in-person events, like I've never done an event where I haven't signed up 50% of the people that have gone. And I'm not saying that's always going to be how it is, but let's see. So sorry, I have my notes here. Otherwise, I will just like ramble on and on. But basically, I told you guys I sat at Senior Ruby for years and years. And then, like I said, we had set up these systems in place. And last March, when Plexus came out and said, we're going to do the free reset, I called up my sister, who's my level 1, and I said, we are going for Emerald this month. We have these systems in place, and I just think that we should do it. And so we did. I mean, you guys talk about momentum. We were doing parties a couple times a week. We were doing calls like every single night. And it's not always going to be like that, but I don't remember if it was Lisa that was saying like, you kind of have your ebbs and flows. It's not always going to be like that, but momentum didn't come first. It was the decision that we were going to do it. And once we were ready to do it, we had these systems in place. So just if you're feeling stuck or maybe second guessing or wondering what's missing, you just might need more systems in place and maybe a deeper why. Like when I originally started this is not the same why of why I do it now. And so that's something big. Like you just have to reevaluate your why often. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have.
All right. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. I took notes from both of you ladies. So much for us to think about. take some screenshots right now if there's anything that you want to screenshot from the chat really quickly. Also, if you have any questions, reach out to any of us and we would be happy to encourage you or cheer you on. So I thank you for joining us, you guys. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.